Hello, welcome to another episode of the Stemmy Conversations podcast, where we talk about all things STEM and ICT. I'm your host, Bradley Donna, and alongside me is my co-host, Ms. Stephanie Simon. Today we're having a guest, Mr. Carl Handy. He is a software engineer and the founder of Kalpa Services. Mr. Handy, welcome to Stemmy Conversations podcast. So the first question, or basically what like I mentioned earlier, it's basically to give youth synopsis of what the career involves. So the first question would be, what career did you pursue and a short description of what the career is, or what's a day in the life of your career as well? Practically a software engineer, right?
Correct.
What's a day in the life of a software engineer?
That depends on who you ask. It's difficult at times. There's a lot going on in the head. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot to plan out. It's a lot of it's mostly planning. A lot of persons think it's all about code, but it's not. Like, code is only about 10% of the job. The other 90% involves making architectural decisions, making decisions that will help businesses propel forward. And code is just a tiny piece. For example, this week I spent the entire week. I may have probably written 2 lines of code, and the entire week was spent just planning out a new architecture for a system I'm working for a client. So that's basically what it's like. It's a lot of planning.
All right. And how has your journey been so far from where we started to where you are today?
It's been an interesting one, because I didn't start off as an engineer. I have before I actually became an engineer, I had no background in it. I didn't study it. I didn't do anything. I was studying law before. So when I dropped out of law school in Antigua, and I came back to Guyana, I started at Intellect Storm, a local tech startup here, in 2017. And I was doing web design for them. And I left there in roughly around 2020, roughly around the same time the pandemic started. But I didn't have any before them. I had no knowledge. So I learned everything on the job. YouTube videos, one-on-one interactions with Tristan, Rowan, and the guys at Intellect Star. And that's how I really propelled into what I'm doing now. The journey there's been a lot of long nights. Now I'm trying to take a break and really balance things out, but it's a lot of late nights. At least for me, it has been a lot of late nights, studying and really trying to understand how the entire process works. And then you would have projects that are so large that you would need to spend those late nights flushing things out after hours. So, but it's been a very interesting and it's been a fun journey. So I can say that I enjoy doing it. That's why I'm still doing it after so many years. So, yeah.
All right, Stephanie, over to you with your questions.
So what would be like some tips or some advice that you would give to some of our viewers out there about the field that you're in?
The most important one is you have to love it, right? If you don't, I was talking to a colleague. He invited myself and another colleague of mine, Devendra, to just talk to a couple of youths the other day on the STEM field and on what we do. Because Devendra is a back-end engineer. I'm mostly focused on front end, but I'm acting as a full stack. So right now I do everything, but my focus is on the front end. So we were talking to some of the youths the other day, and one of the things we agreed upon was that you have to love it, you have to enjoy it, because as much as you look on YouTube or you look on Instagram and you see these devs with their cool setups and all of these things, it's in real life, it's not like that. Like in real life, it's never like that. Yes, you're being paid top dollar for the work you're doing, so you can afford a nice setup to post for Instagram, but it's a really stressful. It can be a really stressful thing to do because it's a lot of brain work, um, especially if you don't have the right environment to work in. Um, I've seen, fortunately for me, I've never been in and worked in an environment or with a company that's toxic, that doesn't allow you to take breaks and this kind of stuff. Because if you ask any of the people I've worked with before, I like to sleep. I take naps, right? So if you don't have that, if you have this environment where it's only about the deadline, it's only about the sprint, it's only about the scrum, um, you're gonna have a you're gonna find it challenging. So the most important thing is you have to love it. Um, if you're coming from another field like I did, I came from law. If you're coming from another field, it's important to understand that it's a process like anything else. It's a learning process, and it's easy to get overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that you have to learn. But you can break it down into bite-sized pieces. You can first figure out what exactly is it in software engineering or web development that you want to do, because there's a whole spectrum. We say software engineering, but it's a whole spectrum. You can be a mobile app developer, web designer, UX UI designer, all of these things. So you can first decide what field or what niche you want to get into, and you can start learning from there. A third point would be a third point I think would be to enjoy the process. I don't know any developer in the world, and I've interacted with a lot of them because I also contribute to a lot of open source projects, that doesn't need help or at one point don't feel frustrated. So it's important to just enjoy the learning process, ask for help whenever you can, and just keep pushing forward.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that. And I can share in a bit of the frustration as well. There's sometimes you feel overworked, but you gotta push forward and get this stuff done, no matter what. Well, as you say, it's a process. So I feel that pain as well. So somebody who has no experience in this field but has an interest, what would be like some tips or a starter point for them to move forward?
All right. All right. I would say it depends, only because everyone learns differently. So for me, I'm a visual learner. So what worked for me was YouTube, Udemy. Off the top of my head, I can't name any specific channel. Oh, actually, I can. Maximilian Schwartz I think he's a German or Ukrainian guy.
Yes, I watch him as well.
Yeah, his tutorials are top notch. Fireship.io, they do bite-sized videos, 100-second videos on different technologies. They're also a good place to start. But Maximilian is a good guy to follow on YouTube, and Fireship.io. Also reaching out to people in the community. I don't want to say I'm the most accessible person because Bradley took a while to get out to me because I have my moments where I just zone out. Um, but if you're really interested in the field, you can always you can reach out to me and I will respond to you. I don't ghost people. um, but there's also a lot of Twitter is a good place also to reach out to devs all around the world, and people are surprisingly helpful, and people want to see you succeed. Once you ask the right questions and you know what you're looking for, people will help you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for that. Well, over to you, Bradley.
All right. I just wanna, what should I say, endorse or reiterate what Carl was saying. I think everybody learns differently. I like the part when he said that he learns visually. I learn visually too. I gotta see things. I like colorful books because it really does help. Um, as well as networking, it really does help because I've known people from across the world, and I just need help, and I could call them, and they'd be willing to assist. So ask for help when you need it. It really does help.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't say the amount of times I've reached out. The Stack Overflow, and these things. I can't say the amount of times I've reached out on Stack Overflow to ask questions and in return answer questions. Even on when I don't get an answer right away on Stack Overflow, sometimes I'd reach out to the devs on Twitter and they'd respond and they'd help me out. Just a few months ago, I was having a problem with Ionic. So it's a hybrid mobile app framework. And I reached out on Twitter and the founder of Ionic responded to me with help. So so people are willing to help once you reach out. So you gotta take shame face out of the thing and just ask, right? Granny said don't take shame face to shake off a man hand. So yeah.
That is true. We really have to put aside pride, and my grandma used to say, one man is at an island. We always need help. Always. I can tell you for that with AR. I started AR with developer circles, and I was at one point I sucked because I was trying to create a Flung filter and it would just not work. And I had to call. I messaged this girl from India, and this I was able to get help. And this I will still have help from them when I get ready. So we really have to put pride aside and ask for help and network with people.
Yeah, correct.
So
And
Stephanie, anything else for you?
I don't have anything else to add at the moment, but I think we can take away a lot of information that was said here. It's not an easy road, like you said before, because I was from a business background as well, and I ended up going over to the tech field at the university. I just started to pick the interest there. So it's not an easy road, but we will get there with the right amount of help and the right people. Once we could connect with them and talk to them, we're going to get there. So I would like to close off here by saying thank you so much, Carl, for doing this talk with us. We really appreciate it. And for our viewers out there, please remember to follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Apple, and Google, the podcast. Yes, I don't think I missed anything, Brad. Did I? All right. So thanks, guys.
guys, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Carol.